Right. This is another little short video that I'd like you to see, people. Okay. This is what the government has actually allowed. You know what is going on as well. This is what the government has actually allowed us to watch and do, which is wrong. I am against all this.
She had died prematurely and experienced things that many would find unimaginable. She was the first star of bestiality. And in the 80s, what started as a trickle of illegal hardcore tapes is now a torrent of the most extreme material imaginable. And what was once thought of as shocking is now considered the norm.
The amount of bestiality sites there are on the internet, you know, hundreds of them. I mean, they wouldn't be there unless there was a market for this kind of thing and unless people were getting sexually aroused. But, you know, it's chicken and egg, isn't it? I mean, would people have ever thought about becoming aroused by it if they hadn't first watched it to be shocked? Like the VHS before it, the internet has transformed the face of pornography, as there are now 2.5 million bestiality sites.
Whereas young boys, teenage boys, young men used to start off with Playboy, with Penthouse, with Hustler, you now have them starting off with extreme pornography. That is where they begin.
Each new generation has to go for one more big thing, and some of the you know, porn involving humans now is stuff that you would look at the same way that you looked at Animal Farm way back then. You look at it and you go, oh.
Millions of specialist DVD titles, magazines and websites are readily available, and the pornography industry is constantly looking for any new fetish to capture and sell to a global market.
I've looked on the internet at hardcore porn sites where you're not even required to give your credit card number, and I have seen crime scenes of dead bodies of women being eaten by maggots, having been raped, tortured and killed, and they're lying in shallow graves.
We see Animal Farm, oh, it's people, girls shagging animals, so what's the big deal? Let's see some girls throwing up and eating up afterwards, and let's shove some girls' heads down toilets and wheel over them, and let's do the most disgusting things with their orifices that you've ever seen happen before.
It's always been an offence to sell and distribute extreme pornography. However, the internet has made the Obscene Publications Act obsolete because the actual possession of extreme material is still legal. However, the possession of child pornography is outlawed under the Child Protection Act, leaving other extreme pornographic material unpoliced.
We have to somehow limit people's exposure to the explicit and extreme obscene articles that are there. And if it goes unpoliced, who would then ever draw a line?
Later this year, Parliament will debate whether to close this loophole by amending the Obscene Publications Act.
And this is what the government is doing, people.
It's a very radical proposal.
Yeah? They are disgusting, the government.
Sexual material.
Totally disgusting.
Tough manner as child.
This is what our government is doing, child pornography. I just wanted to point it out to you, people.
If you don't legislate against the harm done in pornography, there will be no end to the extremity.
This is Colin O'Brien, and I am against all this disgusting pornography, what's going on, especially to do with children. It's wrong.
To get it overturned.
It's anti-social.
Those shocking things on the internet without even paying for it that we could never have imagined even 5 years ago.
Whether or not this becomes law, the multi-billion-pound porn industry will continue to grow, and women like Bodil Joensen will seemingly always be attracted to it in the hope of making their fortune. Bodil Joensen led an extraordinary life. 20 years after her death, she remains a cult figure. The woman who will always be known as the Boer Girl, the star of the film that became known as Animal Farm. Some claim she was a pioneer of free sex, but others see an abused woman exploited by pornographers.
next to Lies on for What the